This exhibition is being held in the Mackintosh Gallery of the Glasgow School of Art in April of 2009. Charles Ronnie Mackintosh, the designer of this building for the Glasgow School of Art, was very influenced by Japanese art at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. This exhibition was curated by Glasgow artist Ronnie Heaps, who also designed the catalogue, and is based upon my own collection of tarot cards.
I'm going to ask Adam to come and give us the fruits of his insight into the art of Japanese tarot. What does tarot mean to us today? Usually we just think of a tarot reader in their tent or in their studio turning over cards and telling people's fortunes. That's the image that really comes to us. So why is tarot in this art environment? Well, for myself, this began with collecting tarot cards, and for me this goes back to the 1970s and the early 80s. My interest in tarot began to wane, and I still had a vague contact with some of the people involved. But I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, I just took an interest suddenly in looking at tarot, and I was just shocked to find, thousands of different designs. And I thought, I must find out some more about this. So I began to realise that there was nowhere you could go to study tarot cards. I'd go to the university library and get books out and study books on all sorts of subjects, but I couldn't get tarot cards out to look at. And when I switched on the computer and got things up on the screen, all you could see was these little JPEGs, and you could see no detail of the artwork. So I thought, well, there's only one way to do it, and that's to actually begin collecting the cards yourself. So that's what I did. Tarot developed in Italy some 500 years before it made its appearance in Japan. So the first section of our exhibition gives a quick look back to the origins of tarot. The first tarot images were created as artworks, gifts commissioned for wealthy families in northern Italy around 1450. Here we see a reproduction of the Visconti Sforza tarot. As you see, it is in the form of hand-painted images applied with gold leaf in the style of an illuminated manuscript of that time, though on 78 separate leaves. The imagery here drew on emblems that were common in the art of that time. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, tarot became absorbed into the esoteric and magical systems that were then emerging. One of the most influential of these is the so-called Rider-Waite Tarot of 1909, published by Rider & Co. and devised by Arthur Edward Waite, based on the teachings of his magical order. The artwork was created by one of his colleagues, the artist Pamela Coleman Smith. Tarot first appeared in Japan in the 1960s, when a few books were written about the subject, and some tarot decks were imported from America and Europe. But it was not until the 1970s that Japanese artists and publishers began to produce actual decks. The first deck to be produced in Japan would appear to be the Kaishobu in 1974. This is based on the Rider-Waite deck and the Marseille-style tarots. Other early Japanese decks include the New Egyptian tarot, based on a late 19th century French deck, and the Renaissance-style deck, which also draws its imagery and style from early European tarot decks. The Petty Tarot of 1979 is more contemporary, as we can see from the way the figures are depicted in hippie or New Age style. A strange item is the ukiyo-e tarot. When people see this deck, they immediately come to the conclusion that this is what Japanese tarot must be about. Classical Japanese imagery, kimonos, screens, landscapes, samurai, and so on. This deck, however, was conceived of by the American tarot publisher Stuart Kaplan. He tried various artists but was unsatisfied with the result until he found Koji Furata, who created this tarot based on woodblock print styles. So this is really an American's view of what a Japanese tarot should look like. The next section of our exhibition presents Japanese tarot not so much in historical order, but rather looking at the various themes and styles and the different ways in which tarots were presented to particular audiences. In the early 1990s, a large number of tarot began to appear. The artists often turned to classical art styles, thus we find many were devised in an Art Nouveau or Art Deco style. Some tarot artists turned to traditional Japanese imagery for inspiration. Among these we note two tarots created by Kazumi Niyakura for Mondo Oki. Another wonderful tarot using Japanese imagery is that created for the astrologer and card reader, Moon Princess Hinoko. Tarots have been issued as promotional items, given away as free gifts at the opening of various events or used to promote a product in some way. The Morinaga High Crown Chocolate Company used two tarots as incentives to encourage people to buy the chocolate bars. If you collected enough wrappers, you could send off for a rather magnificent tarot deck. They even had one for milk chocolate and one for plain. In Japan, publishers of manga, computer games, and so on tolerate fans creating artwork based on the characters in their products. These doujinshi fan art products are sold and traded extensively. Among these are a number of tarot decks incorporating facets of an anime, manga, or computer game. The Gundam Wing is an example. Here a group of fans have created a tarot based upon the anime Gundam Wing, first shown in Japanese television in 1995 and 96. The death card is notorious. In tarot readings, the appearance of this card can be very unsettling. Tarot artists in the West often rework death into a card of transformation, rebirth, even resurrection. In Japan, it seems, tarot artists prefer their death cards to stick closer to the original conception. So here, skeletons, skulls, and the Grim Reaper are still prominent. This exhibition is particularly important as it has been held in an art environment. It asks people to look at tarot designs as artwork rather than as cards for fortune telling. We see in these exhibits, taken from my collection of nearly 200 decks, how the creative and inventive artists of Japan found in tarot an exciting, lively form of expression. This exhibition celebrates the creativity and style of the art of Japanese tarot.